Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that becoming the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about following macros, a meal plan, or killing yourself at the gym. You have to look at a holistic approach, looking at stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, support system, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. You can find it on Amazon. In this podcast, I am going to teach you how to take one step at a time to becoming the healthiest version of yourself. Today's guest is Amanda Haar. She is one of our dietitians at our headquarters location. She specializes in hormone health, women's health, and she also works with many of the kids and families that have partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition and get those healthy habits started at a young age. In today's episode, we talk about some myths that surround nutrition coaching, what people think they're getting when they sign up for a nutrition coach, especially when they work with our program, and what they're actually getting. We also talk about finding the right coach for you. All right, I hope you enjoy this episode with Amanda Haar. Amanda, welcome back to the first video podcast.
This is exciting, Nicole. Thanks for having me.
Today, we are going to talk about some of the top myths when it comes to hiring a nutrition coach and probably some things that I actually thought I needed to do as a nutrition coach and dietitian when I first started my practice.
I completely agree. You know, we come out of this 5+ years working on a degree, filling our mind with all of this science information, and then we just want to unload it all, help people in every way, which is really well-meaning, but not necessarily effective.
Let's dive into some of these myths. So the first one, and I have to admit, I did this one, is giving people macros and meal plans. I thought when I started Healthy Steps Nutrition, I could give someone a meal plan and they would follow it and see good results. And in theory, maybe, right?
Right. If people were robots, we could do that.
Yeah. But the thing is if people don't have those specific foods or whatever happens, maybe like life throws a curveball and now they're eating out and they couldn't follow the meal plan, then they didn't follow this piece of paper and they felt like they failed. And that is the opposite feeling I want to instill in someone that I'm coaching.
Right. And honestly, a lot of times what people ask when they come in is, I want a meal plan, which is really a struggle, right? Because you want to give them what they're looking for, but you want to give them what will actually help them the most.
Yeah. So instead, let's figure out what looks good to you. Let's figure out what a balanced meal looks like. And then no matter what you have in your kitchen, in your pantry, in your freezer, in your fridge, you can make a balanced meal. I'm working with a client, Josh, and he's going on a work trip. And he's been doing continuous glucose monitoring too. And he's like, Nicole, I know exactly what I need to do. I just need to follow the plate method. And no matter what I have, as long as I fit it in the plate method, I know my blood sugar is going to be balanced and I'm going to feel okay. I'm going to sleep well, and I'm going to be following what I should be doing.
Right. And that's where, honestly, I have to say, Nicole, the nutrition handbook that we give our coaches at HSN, I absolutely love it because they're armed with all of these types of information that give them a lot of swap out ideas to maintain the guidance. Like we have the food options guide, which tells people what is the protein, what is the starch, what is the fat, what are non-starchy vegetable options, because honestly, sometimes that's even confusing. Peas are green, but they're starchy, you know, and then putting it together into the plate method and being able to use our hands to portion out the food. That gives you tools just exponentially that you'll never get rid of your hands. So having that versus a paper meal plan just arms you so much more holistically for all the things in your life.
Absolutely. You know, another thing like going along with meal plans is macros. So many people are like, all right, well, what are my macros? And I'm like, well, let's talk about macros. Like, what is a macro? And then it comes down to, they don't even know what it is, but they saw someone with a 6-pack on Instagram or whatever the case may be, tracking in MyFitnessPal and thinking that they need to do that. I personally hate MyFitnessPal. Like, I don't want people tracking that because it's super overwhelming. You're not going to actually measure out the food anyways. So the portion sizes are not going to be off. Your macros are going to be off. I would much rather you take a picture of the food and let us see, is this a visual of a balanced plate? Let me give you feedback on that. And I don't know about you, but personally with my clients, I have seen so much more success with them not having this stress of macro counting and rather just looking at a picture of a balanced plate or whatever they're eating.
Right. And, if it's a few days of just seeing where you're at, like that can be really helpful just as kind of like a starting point, but to do it ongoing relentlessly, like that can even start some restrictive behaviors eating as well. Because I have to say, I've seen clients before, like they're really good at macro counting, but they're forgetting to have half of their plate vegetables because that's not included in the macros. So that's where, sometimes we can get a little bit too in the weeds, but forget about the basics that are going to be the most impactful.
I've seen people over the years that actually end up having some disordered eating habits because of macro counting, right? They end up being super restrictive during the day and then fill it all up or stop eating and they're still hungry because they have already met their macros for the day. And like, that's not the relationship that we want to foster with someone as they're starting healthy habits and a healthy lifestyle.
Right. Yep. Like if, I've definitely heard that before, like, well, I still have 200 calories left in the day, but I'm not hungry anymore, but I'm going to eat something anyways. Or on the other end, like I'm starving, but I've eaten everything, which again, going into the women's health and hormones, our hunger and fullness levels change throughout the month, even with our hormones, not even considering how much energy we're expending through exercise and movement and all of those things. So it's really hard to kind of stick ourselves into one calorie level every single day and feel satisfied.
Right. So we want to throw out calories and macros, look at more of a holistic approach, look at something that's going to be realistic for someone's lifestyle and their family and whatever other things they have going on. I want to talk about the next myth that I hear. Some people get a little bit unsure when they want to hire a nutrition coach because they feel like they don't want a drill sergeant yelling at them or telling them they can't have all the things.
Right. Yes. And honestly, that would be overwhelming to me too. Like sometimes you want guidance, but you don't want to feel bad about what you're eating. Because again, what does that do to you psychologically? Like that induces fear around food. And that's exactly the opposite of where we want to be headed.
Yeah, I remember meeting with a client who actually he had, tracked something like put a picture or whatever in the Healthy Steps Nutrition app. And he was upset that someone didn't get mad at him for eating a Reese's or eating like piece of candy. I'm like, well, that's not our job. Like you're an adult, like I want to help you understand what a balanced meal looks like. But if you want a treat, have it. I met with a client this morning and he went to Topgolf yesterday, had a beer, and then went out and had a glass of wine. And his blood sugar was a little bit high over the night. But at the same time, like he's like, hey, I ate a lot better than I would have. And, I still want to be able to live a little. And I agree, right? Like I'll go out, have a glass of wine or two and, that's fine. But I don't want to not do that and deprive myself and then not be able to like have the social circle or do something that I want to do because I'm afraid someone's going to yell at me.
Right. Like we want to open everyone's options, not close them down. And if you're looking for someone to yell at you about your food decisions, that really makes me think of like, how are your thinking patterns towards yourself? If that you expect someone else to kind of break you down for that food choice, that might be a really good reflection of like, how am I treating myself?
Yeah. I think it's always eye-opening to me when people can connect the dots for themselves and not be the person or have someone connecting the dots for them. I think one of the things that you do so well is you really foster environments for people to come up with their own thinking. Like you're not telling them what to do. And I think for some nutrition clients, this is like a new concept because we're so used to like, give me the answer, give me the results. I'll do what you tell me to do. But in reality, like we don't have the same lens on your life that you do. We're not going to be able to come up with the best solution you are.
Right, exactly. Which is pretty cool because that comes from the intrinsic coaching certification that I did years ago and you're doing right now. And it's so cool to kind of realize that, in this microwave society, we want everything now, right? Like we forget that we are creative, we're capable, and we're complete. So to have someone kind of draw out what exponential, like no one else can see, right? You are the person who can see everything in your life, much more than a nutrition coach. We'd have to talk for hours and hours and hours, and we still wouldn't get to everything in your life. Sometimes a provoking question can lead to much more action than just go do this.
And what's super interesting is how quick you can come up with the answer for yourself when you have someone fostering those questions with you.
Right. Like how we'll usually establish throughout our sessions, that might be, I let them talk about what's going on and then ask, what do you see in what you're saying as what you want to take forward with you? Or what did you learn from that experience that you want to take forward with you for the next time something like that happens? So we really want to just kind of open up their thinking.
Which is really unique because most coaching clients come in thinking that they're just going to be told what to do. And actually, they're being kind of fostered to think for themselves and think about what's going to be the best solution for them. Think about what they're actually wanting. And you're able to support them in that journey, not be the person telling them what to do.
Right. And it can be really uncomfortable for some people. It's funny, like some people latch onto it like that. They're like, this is exactly what I needed. And other people, it takes them a while because it's uncomfortable to be put in that situation and, come up with those answers for yourself.
Yeah. I think when I was going to counseling last year, like that was the first experience that I have ever been in where it's like someone's asking me a lot of questions and I'm forced to sit there and think. And there were a lot of moments of silence. And it just was like me really thinking about, all right, what am I really wanting? What is going to be the best solution here? Like, she's not going to tell me what to do. I need to figure this out myself. And she's going to help guide me. And maybe it would be the answer that she was going to say. Maybe it won't. But at the end of the day, it's going to be what I came up with that I'm going to be bought into more.
Right, exactly. And that's where like the coach can be a great guide of, giving some education, sharing some ideas of what might be helpful. And then you as the client choosing, this is what I see as most important for me right now, or just the thing that I'm most excited about implementing right now. Because sometimes I throw out ideas and clients are like, nope. So I'm like, all right, what do you see as important there? And then they come up with something that's so much easier for them to achieve because they're 100% bought in because it came from them.
And there is a role in the coaching experience with that, right? If someone's saying like today, I was like, all right, you're starting to travel a little bit more. Like, what do you see as important for you? And he's like, oh, I really need to do some planning out. Okay, let's talk about some planning. Like, what are some good options for you to bring? Here's some different ideas. What sounds good to you? All right, how are you going to get that? What are we going to do to set ourselves up for success? And then instead of telling them what to do, like they're coming up with it, but they still leave with a concrete plan of what they need to do.
Right. It's just a guided thought process type of thing. Mm-hmm.
I love it. So when you're working with Healthy Steps Nutrition and a Healthy Steps Nutrition coach, you're not being told what to do. Like you're working with the coach to create a plan that's realistic for you. Going back to that holistic framework, I know a lot of times there are seasons with people where we might not really be focusing a lot on the actual food. It might be more stress management or, hey, sleep right now, or whatever the case, maybe whatever pillar in the framework is the one that needs the most help with. That's what we're working with the coachee on.
Right. And that's where the long-term journey really is so effective because sometimes we're really excited about something the first month or two, but life changes. Sometimes it throws us curveballs. So that's where the ongoing part of the coaching is so cool, where we can kind of take that journey together. And yes, maybe foundations of nutrition have been set, but then another kind of part of your life, runs askew, and then we just refocus to address that issue as well.
Love it. All right. The last myth that I think is a big red flag is coaches that are pushing a ton of pills and supplements or programs, nutrition programs.
Right.
There are so many different programs out there, and it's super confusing with what people, think is best or, what is going to be the best for them. And so many of these programs will push the quick fixes. And, I think of like the ads on the radio or the magazine covers that's like super keto pill. And then here's the side effects of all these keto pills, but it's going to help you lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And while we might be conditioned for that microwave society, it is not going to help us be able to maintain healthy habits long term and keep the weight off.
Exactly. That reminds me of one of our clients who's had amazing success the past 6 months. And she's like down 40 pounds over 6 months. And she said that people were encouraging her to just get bariatric surgery, like just get that quick fix. And for some people, that is what they need to do. But for most people, the lifestyle changes is where it's at. And so she's so proud of herself that she's made those lifestyle changes step by step. She doesn't have the excess skin hanging from when you lose a crazy amount of weight in a short amount of time. And she's just made changes in her mental status as well, along with that all. So it's so cool to see how when we don't expect 30 pounds in a month, how much more we can get out of our experience.
Exactly. And then maintain it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes easy and it's not a daunting task. When I look at some people who spend a ton of money on supplements and pills, like they're paying all of this money for food products. And I know people that have been pretty close to me that I've like gone and I'm like, what in the world? So you've got all these supplements in your house. But the problem is as soon as they stop them, they regain all of the weight because they haven't changed those foundational habits to make health a way of life.
You're right. Yep. And supplements can be helpful in their certain ways, but we want that food and lifestyle approach to come first. And then supplements being what the name says, a supplement to a healthy lifestyle and a healthy eating pattern.
Absolutely. Supplements that we do recommend at Healthy Steps Nutrition, a lot of our clients will take like a whey protein powder after their workout, especially if they're having trouble getting enough protein in throughout the day. I personally struggle with that. I use a scent protein, which is tested and has not a ton of artificial stuff in there. The supplement industry isn't tested. So a lot of times what it says on the label is not actually what is in the pill or package. And that can cause a lot of issues for people. Omega-3s are another supplement that I think are beneficial. Omega-3s help fight inflammation. And typically we don't get enough omega-3s in our diet. So that could be a good supplement to supplement a whole food diet. All right. So we talked about some myths. Let's dive into like finding the right coach for you, because a lot of times when you are looking for a coach, there's a lot of people on Instagram. There's a lot of ads everywhere, and it can be confusing on how to find the right coach for you. I think the first thing you need to look at is the coach following any of those three myths? Are they just giving out meal plans and macros? Are they pushing supplements? Are they just telling you what to do? I would cross them off the list if that is the primary way that they coach clients. You need someone that's going to work with you, create a plan that is realistic for you, taking into account all aspects of your life. But what would you say to someone who's looking to hire a nutrition coach?
Right. So yeah, I definitely looking for someone who is whole foods based is going to be a huge step. And I know that means a lot of things in our society today, but basically like less processed foods. And that can come in the form of, yes, cookies, cakes, candies, but also even like a lot of vegan options these days are very processed with the soy isolate into it. So whatever type of, meat, no meat you're looking for, we want to be using whole foods in their most natural form as your basis of your eating pattern.
I think that's a really great thing. I think when I hire a coach, and even when we bring on nutrition coaches, dietitians, we actually have a job posting right now for a dietitian to help support you because you're crazy busy. The first thing that I do is I look up people on social media, like, are they practicing what they preach? Do they have the personality of someone that's going to mesh with our culture at Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ? But if I'm looking to hire a coach, like, is their personality going to mesh with me?
Right. Is that person going to encourage you and build you up, or are they going to break you down? Right. And I should hope not with the coach, but it is a really important thing that you feel encouraged and you feel motivated and excited to take those steps after every session together.
Absolutely. I look for someone that's a cheerleader, right? Like I want someone that's positive, someone that's motivating, especially when you're opening up to someone. Like there could be some things that are tough for you and in a season that you're in. Like I want someone that's going to encourage me, give me a different perspective, but then really foster my own thinking.
Right, exactly. Because you're right. A lot of times we feel vulnerable in those spaces, and it takes comfort with that person to be completely open and honest and vulnerable. Because I know, in the past, a while ago, I remember, I think there's some times where people weren't very truthful, and it's really hard to help, if you're not sharing everything with your coach, and you need to feel comfortable to do that.
I love it. So if you are looking to hire a nutrition coach, or maybe you have fallen into one of those traps, one of those myths yourself, and you're like, hey, this isn't working. I need something that's more holistic, something that's right for me, someone to help me every step of the way. We would definitely love to help you. You can click the link below in the show notes and you can apply for coaching, or you can go to hireanutritioncoach.com and find a Healthy Steps nutrition coach near you. We have thousands of nutrition coaches around the world using the Healthy Steps nutrition framework. You are one of the people that helps train them, right? So everyone goes through our online training course, but then we have live development sessions every single week to help continue to develop coaches, because I am so confident that this framework will help every single person make health a way of life, one step at a time.
You're right. Yep. And definitely that's a great point to think about with hiring a coach, because you want someone who has a network of support, honestly. Because I know before I connected with HSN, I was having my own practice, and sometimes your wheels just spin and you don't have anyone to kind of throw things off of between each other. So even that component is just an added bonus of the other things that you're seeking in a coach.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you for all that you do to help support all of our clients. The Healthy Steps Nutrition Program would not be the same without you.
It's my pleasure, Nicole. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Amanda. It is pretty interesting. We still get calls today with people asking us for meal plans and macros. And, the truth is you don't have to follow a piece of paper to be successful. And if you have a good coach, you shouldn't be following that. You should have a coach that helps you using a holistic approach, looking at you as a whole person. I was recently renewing my dietitian certification, and we have to have 75 CEUs every cycle. And I asked Amanda, what certification, what continuing education have you done since becoming a dietitian that you thought was the most beneficial? And she mentioned this certification called Intrinsic Coaching. I went through it. I'm actually wrapping up the last session tomorrow to become a certified intrinsic coach, which is what Amanda is as well. And the biggest thing that I've learned throughout the past 12 weeks of the certification is really keeping clients in the driver's seat. And what I mean is you have an insight into your life that no one else has. Me giving you different suggestions or telling you what to do isn't gonna be the most beneficial for you. In fact, I need to be asking you questions to help you facilitate your best thinking, because you have an insight that I don't have. You're going to be able to come up with the answers. And while some clients don't necessarily understand, they might think, well, Nicole, I'm paying you to tell me what to do. That might be what you think you're doing, but you're really investing in yourself so that you can create a plan for yourself with a guide, me as your guide, but create a plan that's going to be realistic for you long-term. You have an insight, you have a lens into your life that no one else has. Intrinsic coaching has been a real cornerstone of Amanda's coaching throughout her entire dietitian career. And I'm so excited to be incorporating this information into more of our coaching with us at our HQ location, as well as our coaches all over the world that are using the Healthy Steps Nutrition Framework. If you are looking for a nutrition coach, if you are looking for someone to help you, you can go to hireanutritioncoach.com, or you can go to healthystepsnutrition.com and apply for nutrition coaching today. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review so that you can make sure and not miss another episode. By leaving us a review, it does help this podcast reach more people so that this free help can get to more people and more people can make health a way of life. We'll see you back here next week.